Shalom to all my brothers and sisters. Shabbat. How are we to understand it? How do we keep it? According to Karaite traditions, and according, most importantly, to Tanakh itself, the Torah and Tanakh. Do we have examples throughout the Tanakh to keep it? Because we follow according to what is written. Now, we may have our own traditions on how to keep those mitzvot according to what is written. We do not go beyond what is written, but we keep in concordance with what is written, what we were handed through the Creator. Shabbat and the reasons we are meant to keep it are mentioned numerous times throughout the Torah. For instance, in the Ten Commandments, Exodus chapter 20, we read, "Remember the Shabbat day and make it holy. 6 days you may work and do all of your necessary tasks, but on the seventh day is a Shabbat to Yehovah, your God. Do not do any work, you, your son, your daughter, your male and male servants, your animals, and the foreigner who lives among you in your territory." And in Exodus chapter 23, verse 12, we see, 6 days you shall do your necessary work, and on the seventh day you shall stop, in order that your ox and your donkey may rest, and that the son of your female slave or servant, as well as the stranger, may refresh themselves. So the Shabbat is not only for you and your family, or you yourself, if you live by yourself, or a single parent with your children, but it also means that you're not to have anyone come into your home and work on the Shabbat. If you have a maid or someone who cleans your house or comes to do your taxes, you are not to allow anyone to work for you during that time. So even if you have someone that's cleaning your house, it must not be. Your animals are not to be put to work. If you live on a farm, you cannot have your horses do any work on the Shabbat. Yes, this is literal. So it doesn't just go for yourself and for your family. This goes for anyone in your vicinity. Whether they work for you, whether they're animals, strangers, it doesn't matter. It is a Shabbat to all who are within your vicinity, wherever you may be. So the reason we are commanded to keep Shabbat is clear. Everybody needs a rest from work, and the Shabbat is the day we are allowed to rest, as well as the day that we are to allow everyone else in our society to rest, even if they have the lowest social standing. This social justice aspect of the Shabbat cannot be overlooked. This is something that we have to look at as something so just and so beautiful that only the Creator of this earth could have come up with. This is the central aspect of Shabbat, period. The examples given in the Torah of those who are allowed to rest, slaves, foreigners, meaning servants, foreigners, animals, are the same ones who might most easily be abused and taken advantage of by the more powerful in society, especially in that time, over 3,000 years ago. Again, you got to take your 21st century mind out of it. We're talking 3,000 years ago. And I will make a video about the term in English when translated as slaves. We need to understand what that exactly meant 3,000 years ago, and according to Israelites. So it's not the slaves of the South. It was not the slavery of African Americans or anything close to that. It has nothing to do with it, no connection whatsoever. But that's another video, another theme. We'll get into that. Okay, Yehovah cannot change their status as servants or outsiders. He does not interfere in human affairs in that way. But his kindness is that he is with them and caring for them as well, because they are all his sons and daughters as well, regardless, period. We are all made in the image of Elohim. Yehovah protects us all. Even when we are at our lowest, different denominations or definitions of Melaka, that which we are forbidden to do on Shabbat, is defined in various ways. Don't be fooled by the statement that Melaka can only mean one thing and only the, I respect this understanding that the oral Torah is the only way we can understand Melaka, but as a Karaite, and as learning the ways of Karaite, do not be fooled by this, because there are more ways to explain it, as we will see, which are forbidden to do on Shabbat. It's defined in various ways by various groups within Judaism itself. These definitions range from the very conservative to the bizarre. We're going to do an overview of all those things, because I want to give you all of it. I don't want to just give you little drips. I want the juices to flow out of your mouth. I want you to have it all. So that's what we're going to do here. For instance, the rabbis demonstrated their typical excessive legalism to define melakha as certain specific types of activities. Again, no disrespect whatsoever, because that's their traditions, that's their oral law, and I'm not here to attack. I want to give you all views. These are the activities and stipulations. The building of the tabernacle in the desert, for one. Regardless of the context in which the activity takes place, the complicated rabbinical system of melakha is highly counterintuitive and in many cases allows for activities which should clearly be forbidden on Shabbat, while forbidding activities which should clearly be allowed. Now again, this is the view of Karaites, because we see things very differently on these subjects, but we respect that someone else feels differently. So I want to make that very clear. According to the rabbis, if you carry anything, no matter how large or how small, from a private residence into a public space, you have done a melakha. Period. So in many rabbinical communities around the world, you will see people wearing their keys around their necks on the Shabbat. Why would they do such a thing? The reason is that it is forbidden by the rabbis to carry even a key from one's private residence into a public area on the Shabbat. It's very strict. Therefore, they wear their keys around their necks in order that it now becomes like an article of clothing rather than an object being carried. Number two, 2,000 years of exile with nothing to do except write more and more laws does have its strange consequences. Now again, this is not everyone's view on this. And again, myself, I don't view these things as strange. They are strange to Karaite beliefs as myself, but I do respect and honor these traditions. I do. On the other hand, as I used to learn in rabbinical yeshivas, this is the words of Melech ben Yaakov, it is technically allowed by the rabbis for a person to rearrange heavy furniture. Now think about this, okay? We're not allowed to carry things from place to place. Now, Melech ben Yaakov, who was rabbinical at one time, says that you can personally rearrange the furniture in your house, which in Karaite tradition would be melakha. That would be work, regardless if it's in your house or not. In his house, on the Shabbat. Because he is carrying the furniture only within the confines of his own private residence and not into a public area, the bizarre system of rabbinical melakha is complicated and contradicts many things, but it is not the scope of this article that I'm reading to you. Now again, this is written by another Karaite, Melech ben Yaakov, who used to be a rabbinical Jew, and now has been Karaite for many years now as well. So I'm just going over some of the things I agree with, some of the things I disagree with. Now, me personally, based on what I've learned and teachings over the years, is that if you carry things and move around things or do the dishes at home, this is considered melakha. It's absolutely melakha. So I would not recommend for you to be doing these sorts of things on Shabbat. Don't move stuff. Don't move things. Now, if there's an absolute emergency where you have to move something, for example, your pet gets stuck under something, or your child, God forbid, of course, you got to move something out of the way, protect them. A lot of people think their superstition is that another thing, the problem we have with the New Testament, the Christian Bible, the Greek scriptures, is that it says so many times that the rabbis got angry with Jesus for healing on the Shabbat. This is complete and utter nonsense. It is never, ever, ever written. It has never been a tradition that you are not allowed to heal or help the sick or the wounded on Shabbat. This is an absolute lie. That's why the stories in the New Testament are made up. They are not real. So then the question becomes, what is Melaka? So what is the true definition of Melaka? The word Melaka appears in its various grammatical forms 69 times in the Tanakh, to tell you the truth. And each time it means precisely the same thing. A Melaka is an activity which must be done in order to accomplish a certain desired goal. So for example, sweeping the house is an example of a Melaka, because one must sweep the house in order to achieve a desired goal of making the house clean. Right? We can agree on that. That's very true. And going to work during the week is Melaka because one must work in order to achieve the desired goal of making money. The fact that one may enjoy his work does not detract from the fact that the main reason we go to work is to make money. Period. There's no way around that. Number 3. What then would not be Melaka? What would not be Melaka? That's the question. That which a person does for pure enjoyment. That's the Karaite view. Completely something that is of complete joy to you. For one, in himself, within himself, rather than a means to an end. So for example, playing music, taking a leisurely walk to enjoy yourself, doing some relaxing gardening, painting or drawing. All of these would not be forms of melaka if it gives you deep pleasure and it has no connection to work or fulfillment to get money or strenuous. If it's something that you enjoy to do, it is not considered melaka. You are allowed to do this on Shabbat because it is not considered work. If somebody's having a beautiful walk in a field, of course you're not going to question him that he is violating the Shabbat. He's enjoying the day. He's enjoying what Shabbat's all about. If you're just stuck in your little room all day, how is that an enjoyable Shabbat? It's just not the case. This brings us to a second definition of melaka. The melaka is something as well that a person does as a means to an end, or rather than as an end in and of itself. Therefore, melaka can correctly be translated as necessary work. That's probably the best way to pronounce or to translate melaka. Necessary work or necessary tasks. Some more examples of melaka. The following are examples of melaka. Here we go. Harvesting one's field because the wheat needs to be in the marketplace. This is melaka. Going to work to make money is melaka. You must not do this on Shabbat. Jogging to lose weight. That's a goal, a task. You must not do this on Shabbat. Walking 3 hours in the heat to get to your mother's house is melaka because it is strenuous. It is not a joy or a thrill if it has these kinds of consequences. Painting the house because it hasn't had a fresh paint job in years is not what we are supposed to be doing on Shabbat. That is not rest. I'm going to keep going here, give you some more examples. It's very important. Reading a book because you have a paper due on or around Monday. Let's say you're doing a paper, a term paper. That's considered melaka. You're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be resting your mind and physically. It's not just physical, it's mental as well. Turn off your phones if you can. Rest. Put it all to the side. That's what Shabbat is all about. It's not just about rest. It's about mental rest as well as the physical rest. These are some things, major things, that are acceptable on Shabbat according to Karaite belief and based on the written words of Yehovah. Basically based on what Melaka means and what is not said and what is said in Tanakh is what I mean. Reading an enjoyable book, that's fine. Doing some relaxing gardening is totally fine. Playing a musical instrument for fun and relaxation, this is great. Meditation, I cannot recommend more on meditation. Taking a leisurely walk, a blessed walk, beautiful. I do that with my children. Writing poetry, whatever that may be, any form of poetry. Spending time with friends. Sleeping, eating, having relations with your mate. Another way to look at Melaka is also like this. Ask yourself, if I had a day off and had absolutely nothing to worry about, no money to make, no weight to lose, which I could probably lose a couple pounds, to tell you the truth, nothing that needs fixing, etc., etc., how would I spend my day? Now again, we have to ask this question. It's very important. If I had the day off, a day off, and I had absolutely nothing to worry about, no money to make, no weight to lose, nothing that needs fixing, etc., etc., you can make more questions for yourself. It's okay. If you want to expand on that, feel free. How would I spend my day? Whatever your answer is, that is what you are allowed to do according to Shabbat. It's not so complicated. It's very simple and beautiful. And this is why keeping the Torah, especially Shabbat, is freedom. It's joy. It's beyond the physical. Now, would you rest on Shabbat? Of course you would. Take a walk through the woods? Yes. Read a book? Yes. Get together with friends? Of course. These things that are not Melaka, you are permitted to do on the Shabbat. But you probably wouldn't go jogging, go to work, fix the plumbing, or do your taxes. Therefore, these things are Melaka and are forbidden on the Shabbat. The idea is quite simple, really. It really is simple. So simple, in fact, that we seem to have lost focus of the simplicity of keeping Shabbat and made it into something so beyond us. And we need to stop that. Stop doing that. Shabbat is not about hurting your mind thinking about Shabbat. You're not supposed to be walking on eggshells on the Shabbat. You're supposed to be relaxing, not worrying about things, even worrying about keeping Shabbat. How are you keeping Shabbat if you're worried about keeping it? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Another major question that's very important. Can I kindle a fire on Shabbat? What is the Karaite view? Karaites traditionally interpret the verses forbidding the burning of a fire on Shabbat in Exodus chapter 35, verse 3, or sometimes verse 4, as meaning that no fire whatsoever may remain lit once the Shabbat comes in and until the Shabbat goes out, from Friday evening when the sun goes down till Saturday when the sun goes down. From this tradition, Karaite interpretation comes the rabbinical tradition to make Hameen cholent on Shabbat. Hameen is a stew that is placed on the fire before the Shabbat. This is a rabbinical tradition. And left to cook throughout the Shabbat. Said the rabbis, if one refuses to make Hameen on Shabbat, one is suspected of being a Keraite, coincidentally. We should all be so lucky, right? Is the tradition Karaite understanding correct or not? Well, that's up for you to decide or not decide because, like I said in my other videos, I respect the views of my rabbinical brothers. I'm not here to attack or claim that I'm right and you're wrong. That's not what I'm here for. I want to give you the Karaite understanding of how we follow these things. So, it is hard to know exactly who is right and who is wrong, and I'm not here to decide who is right and who is wrong. One possible compromise is our modern age is to completely refrain from the use of fire on the Shabbat, as far as Karaites go, but to permit the use of electricity. This is the approach that Karaites use. It is okay to use electricity because we need it for our daily needs, especially with families in this day and age. We don't live in huts. We don't live in Amish country. Some of us may, and if you choose to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just letting you know the information. Another big question, can I leave my house on Shabbat? In Exodus chapter 16, the children of Israel begin for the first time to receive manna from heaven. Though they are told to collect a double portion on Friday and then rest from collecting on the Shabbat, certain Israelites, stubborn as we are traditionally and still today, decide to go out to collect manna even on the Shabbat, but do not find any. Moshe, in response to this incident, reiterates to the children of Israel, look, because Yahweh has given you the Shabbat, on Friday he gives you a portion for 2 days. So let each person stay near his home, and nobody should go out from his place on the 7th day. You could find that in Exodus chapter 16, verse 29. From this verse, the rabbis have developed the idea, Shabbat area, a region of approximately 3,000 feet from one's home, beyond which a person is not allowed to walk on the Shabbat. Certain Karaites, fortunately, a very small minority, have taken this idea a step further and will not even go out of their houses on the Shabbat. I once have even met a man, this is Melech ben Yaakov. He once met a man who was a Karaite himself, who would not get out of his bed for the entire Shabbat. Now this is extreme to me. This is beyond extreme. But, like I said, people keep it their own way, and, it's just, that's your prerogative. In the end, it's between you and the Creator. Your judge is not a teacher. Your judge is the Creator, and we have to go according to His words. Both the rabbinites at large and the few Karaites who give these verses extreme interpretations have forgotten a basic principle of scriptural interpretation. All verses must be evaluated within their context. If we look at the context of Exodus chapter 16, verse 29, we see that Moshe is not admonishing the children of Israel in general terms to remain near their homes on the Shabbat. Rather, it is in the context of the very specific situation of the Israelites wandering off to gather manna on the Shabbat. Not traveling, but going to go get manna. That's the issue. Again, context is everything. I say it in almost every video. If you don't know the context, you'll never understand. Therefore, this is no general prohibition against walking far away from one's home on the Shabbat. Like the incident in Exodus chapter 16 I just mentioned, each journey must be taken in its own context. It is tiring, not pleasurable, or done for a reason other than enjoyment. That's the question. Is it tiring? Is it pleasurable? Is it relaxation? What are you doing it for? If the former, meaning enjoyable walk, is the case, then it would most likely not be forbidden. But if it is to go gather manna or something else, or pick corn or pick fruits from your garden, then that is work to complete a task, like I said before many times. So, in general, we got to be realistic. Look at the text. Think of yourself. Again, the questions. Is this pleasurable? Do I get joy from this? Am I relaxing? Excuse me. So, Shabbat is peace. Not only physical peace and rest, but peace of mind and rest of the mind. So, I hope this video was helpful. Shalom to all of you. Have a blessed day. Yehovah be with you.